Peeps, welcome to, I don't know, some episode of
48.
48, episode 48 of Sales Top to Bottom. I'm Keenan, your host. I'm with the lovely Becc Holland. Becc, what are you doing tonight?
I'm doing the podcast. It already is the night.
Don't you have a party, Becc?
Oh, no, it's next week.
Oh, well, why aren't you home with your family for Thanksgiving? Is that sad?
It actually is. That's a good question. Thanks for asking. It is sad, but I sent a whole bunch of gifts home for the 6 kids. They're like, EMP sucks. So I sent a whole bunch of gifts home, but I don't know what is going to happen tomorrow. Like, am I going to eat turkey? Is it just a normal day?
Well, you're in France and they don't really celebrate Thanksgiving, so do what the French do.
Nothing.
There you go.
They're not pretending not to care. They genuinely don't. But I have noticed that Christmas, it's an odd, like, if you just hit Halloween and you don't have Thanksgiving, you basically have 8 weeks of Christmas. That's a long Christmas. Really, really long Christmas.
I don't do it. Nope. Thanksgiving. Christmas starts for me on the Friday after Thanksgiving.
I know, but for them, they don't have Thanksgiving. So I am sad. It's my first Thanksgiving that I'm ever missing in my life with my family.
Okay.
Wow. All right. With that, we're on to the first segment of this podcast.
Oh, wait.
What's up?
Just let everybody know, this is our last one.
Yes, indeed. Everybody number 48.
This is our last segment of Series 1. We'll be back next year after the holidays with a new and improved. Who knows what we're going to bring, but new and improved. So they all should be up. You can listen to them, get your fill. But we're coming back in the new year with a new program. You excited for that, Becc?
I am. It's the theme of Saison on. This is the finale. Saison
Finale.
Oh, yeah. Well, with that in mind, we're going into the first segment of our last episode of the season, which is called Gaslit. This is the segment where we ask Becc and Keenan questions that sales gurus strongly recommend that AEs ask on discovery calls. And they'll say if it's a self-diagnosis question or not and score the question. So the first one of today is, what does that result in? Keenan, what are your thoughts on this question?
What does this result in? That's the question. So, Min.
Yes, sir.
So I understand you cut your finger and it's now getting infected. If you don't take care of that, what is it? What happens? What does that result in?
I'll probably get an infection.
It's a fucking stupid question. If I'm the doctor and I don't know the answer to that question, we got problems. Right? So when you're asking what does that result in, you just look like a clown. You look like a clown. So I'm giving it a -1. Now, all that being said, and this is probably too esoteric or too complex for most out of context, but I'm going to do my best. If you've gotten to the point of the infection and all of that stuff, and I find out that you are the first chair in an orchestra for cello or violin or something you need that finger for, I can absolutely ask, what's the impact if you don't get back fast enough? Because I don't know that. And this is what we were talking about last week. I don't know if they have a buffer and they're like, yeah, no, when you're better, you're back in first chair, or it's cut though. Sorry, you're out of first chair, you got to earn it back. I don't know that. And so that is a great question when I don't know that environment. Okay. But it's not a good question when it relates to the direct impact. You look like a clown. That was deep. Becc?
So it's a self-diagnosis question, and I would, for kind of the same reasons for Keenan, I would rank it very low. Very low being defined as a 1. I'm going to give it a 1 because if I'm asking Min that question, either Min doesn't know the answer or he does know the answer. If he doesn't know the answer, then you're going to make him guess and probably incorrectly. If he does know the answer, then he just feels kind of played. He feels kind of gaslit. He's like, why do I have to tell you this? Like, to Keenan's point, if it's a typical outcome, if you're really, really early on in the cycle. Now, to Keenan's point, if I'm not understanding something of like, okay, Like, what does that result in me? You need to push something out. You could also do a negative reverse of like, well, why not just go to the concert with your finger broken? You know, what's the downside? Like, what's the downside in that is another way to get at it. But generally speaking, underneath the guise that this is advice that you should ask this question, and then people all of a sudden start closing, I'm definitely one, because that's usually the context I see it in.
All right. The next question of today is, to what extent do you think that would help? Becc, what are your thoughts on this one?
I mean, it's the same type of question as the first one. Now, in this case, it's kind of a triple sin because it's self-diagnosis and you're asking the person, you're leading them to sell to you why they think they should use your tool. It's a leading question and a self-diagnosis of, you know, like if I were to give you 10 leads per month, to what degree, or I don't remember what the question was, but what is it?
To what extent do you think that would help?
Do you think that would help? It's a leading question, self-diagnosis question, and it's basically trying to get the buyer to see that your solution is the best and to talk all about the positive upsides. Most of the time I see them just kind of recoiling, redacting when they hear the question.
Keenan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, if you do it, it's terrible. You should know the answer. If I've done a proper discovery and I know how many leads you're getting today or whatever that Becc said there, and the closing percentage of those leads, and I know all that background information I got from a discovery, then I can ask what I call a validating question. I'm like, all right, so I understand this. If we can gain just X amount more leads for you over this period of time, we can move the close rate from this to this. That means this much money to you. Yes, that's a validating question. And so, yeah, that's, again, same as the first one.
All right. And we do not have enough time for a question. So for our next question. So I'm going to.
Then you look nice.
Threaten y'all with the siren for 7 seconds.
He looks like he's ready for Thanksgiving today.
Well, okay, hold up. Let me buzz myself, but I was going for golf look, but I think I look more like a cappella teacher right now.
Wow.
You do.
That was good, man.
It looks like you're going to Thanksgiving and you want to make mom and dad proud.
100%. 100%.
He looks more and more like that little kid from Up. Just put a little tie on.
Oh, yeah. Don't you forget. I just need the sash.
Yes, man.
The sash and the tie. Well, hey, with that, we are on to the next segment of this podcast, which is called Street Smarts. This is the segment where Keenan and Becc read advice that's told to AEs on how to run discovery, and they give their take on the advice being given. The first piece of advice is a doozy. This one says, our job is not to tell the prospect whether they're right or wrong, but to facilitate the meeting. It's our job as the facilitator to, 1, identify the reason for the stall, 2, recommend the specific action step to prevent that stall, and 3, to see who else needs to be involved. But the whole point of the second call is to get everyone to agree on the problem and tell them that's the point of the meeting, and most times you won't get consensus on the problem that needs to be solved in the first call. A little bit of a long one, but Becc, break it down for us. What are your thoughts?
Well, my first thoughts are, so this is in the context of the second call when you have multiple decision maker or, multiple other parties after the first discovery call. I think that the thing that stands out to me, well, right off the bat, I'll do 3 and then pass. The first is they said, it's not our job to tell the prospect whether they're right or wrong, but to facilitate the meeting. And I'm like, no, you're not a facilitator. You are by default, essentially. But the point of the call is not to get them to agree on the problem. The point of the call is to understand the different problems for the different new stakeholders that you have in the room that you didn't run discovery on before, in my opinion. So I agree that you shouldn't tell them right out that they're right or wrong, but your job is to uncover whether they believe something that's right or wrong and what is true for each one of their worlds in general, because you've only talked to the first person. Second thing that I would say is your job, and the point of it is not to see what stalls are coming and recommend a specific step around preventing that stall. I mean, that's hypothetically your job as a seller, but that is still so seller centric. My job on this call is to find out what their stall is going to be and prevent it. And I'm like, being buyer centric and being about their world is how you're going to win the credibility and help them solve a problem. The third piece that I disagree with, then I'll pass to Keenan, I promise. This advice on you have to get a whole bunch of people to agree on the problem is just point blank toxic advice. You have 5 different buyer personas in that room. A problem is only a problem in the presence of a metric. So they all have 5 different sets of buyer persona metrics. Now, they might use the same solution to solve a different problem for themselves. But trying to get them to agree on the problem is kind of like saying, well, I have 5 kids, for instance, and, I want them to agree on the problem that we're trying to solve by where we're supposed to go on vacation. It's like, well, they're all solving for a different thing. So they might accidentally land on it's the same location they need to go, but it's always going to be to hit different goals. The biggest litmus test to me that this person doesn't understand that it's not to get people to agree about the problem, but doesn't realize that they don't understand that is they said the last line, most times you won't get consensus on the problem that needs to be solved on the first call. I'm like, you're not going to get consensus on the problem that needs to be solved ever. But I agree with you on the first call. So they're seeing, even after they recommend this advice, go in and get them to agree on the problem, go in and get them all to agree on the problem, that they never agree. And they're like, well, you won't get it on the first call. So it's a litmus test that they know that this advice isn't working, but I don't think that they can figure out why. So I'd suggest just not recommending it. Keenan, go ahead.
That was a lot. So I agree it's our job to tell them if they're right or wrong. And I do agree it's our job to facilitate the discussion and to drive them. No, it's our job to get them to the truth, to get them to see the facts, to get them to see what's actually happening and get them to own the reality. You own the reality of their environment. That's a salesperson's job. And once they own the reality, then it's the salesperson's job to facilitate how they choose to react to the reality. So that's where discovery falls apart the most, is salespeople don't really get to the true reality of the organization. So when you go to a second meeting and new people are bringing in, that changes the reality. Using Beck's point, you got 6 kids and you ask all, look, man, you got 6 full grown adults. Go to all 6 and ask them what they thought of their childhood. And I promise you, they're going to have 6 different answers. Now, the spread in the answers could be small or greater depending on how the parents raised it, et cetera, but they're all going to have different answers, right? Some are going to think dad was cool and mom was a bitch, or dad was an ass and dad was a bitch. Wait, whatever. You're right? They're gonna fix it up, right? However it goes, right? Dad's a bitch, mom was awesome, or dad was awesome and mom was a bitch. Like, they're gonna have different angles of it all, right? And so when you go into a second meeting, your job is to basically slow things down and get the other people to share their perception of the environment, right? So it can be something as simply as like, hey, Jennifer, Min was sharing with me these 5 or 6 things. This is what we discovered. Can you take a second, walk me through it? What's your take on all of this, right? And let her say, oh yeah, I agree with it all, but I don't agree with these 3 things over here, right? I think we're missing this, we're missing that. And then you move to the next person. Becc, you heard what Min and so. So do you see it the same as whoever I just said, Mary, or do you see it differently? And so your job is just to facilitate a conversation around a perception of the org. This is what people miss over and over. First discovery, second discovery, third discovery. I don't give a damn. You have to facilitate and uncover and pull out and strip and highlight the perception of your buyer about their environment. And hopefully it's as close to reality as possible.
All right, we're on to the next piece of advice that's been circling around. This one says, the elements of insanely persuasive SaaS sales demo is start your demo with the top feature. Don't save the best thing for last. Too many reps try to do a build-up demo. So by the time they get to the important part, the exec has already left the room. So hit them over the head with value up front and start with an eye popper. Keenan, why don't you tell us your thoughts about this piece of advice?
So I agree with them to the extent that you've done a discovery. How the question was phrased is show your best feature. What I would do is I would add to that, show the best feature as it relates to that buyer based on the problem that buyer is having. And absolutely, that's what you do. 1,000%, right? right? So you got to ask yourself, based on the problem that you discovered in the discovery, or you uncovered during the discovery with the buyer or buyers, then you want to show the feature first. You want to show the most important feature to them based on what you uncovered. So I 1000% agree with them. I just don't agree with them in a vacuum. Your best feature from a product perspective, no. If the feature that's going to most impact your buyer's world or your prospect's world is the least aha feature in your product set, I don't give a shit. Show it to them first, right? Value is based on the impact it has on a person, not the product itself.
All right, Becc, what about you? What are your thoughts on this piece of advice?
Yeah, so I couldn't agree with Keenan more. In a vacuum, that's where this is dangerous. And my problem with it is presented in a vacuum. It's like, present your top feature first. And I'm like, well, top in terms of what?
Yep.
It's the top one that helps them solve a problem with booked meeting attainment, a feature that helps them with conversion or identifying the right person. Like, what feature, to your point, solves the problem that they have the most? So you shouldn't have a quote unquote top feature. You see this in competitive deals a lot. They're like, how do you differ from your competitor? The person will be like, well, blah, blah, blah. And they'll list out 5 or 6 reasons. I'm like, I would counter that and be like, well, before I go on a diatribe about how we're great and they're bad, if you don't mind me asking, what were you trying to solve hypothetically by working with either one of us? So what feature would solve that person, like competitively would solve that person's problem. But the second piece, and then when we go to the last one, is says 8 elements to highly persuasive demo. And every time I heard persuade, I'm like, oh, I just feel red flags.
That's fair.
All right. The last one of today is ask thoughtful questions. You want to build engagement during your demo. So use questions like, how does that compare to what you do today? To what extent do you see that solving blank? And what about this is resonating so far? Much better. Becc, what are your thoughts on this piece of advice?
I mean, it's the same type of questions we were reviewing at the beginning. It's like, sell me on the solution. And is this resonating so far? Usually they're just going to say yes. Yep. It's resonating a lot, Brendan. And then they keep going. So I agree to ask thoughtful questions. The demo should be engaging, but I just think that better examples should be used.
All right, Keenan, close this out. What are your thoughts on this piece of advice?
Read the 3 questions again.
How does that compare to what you do today? To what extent do you see that solving blank? And what about this is resonating so far?
What was the middle question?
To what extent do you see that solving blank?
When you say solving blank, what do you mean?
Just solving the hold up.
Min was himself.
He's baiting me.
That was what I wanted.
I get buzzed on the last episode of the season.
Min to buzz himself. Beautiful.
I'm like, what a way to ensure that Min is on my side for all of season 2.
I'll take it.
He solved a problem for me.
But yes, what are your thoughts on this one?
I would never do that to you, men. I would never.
She's just asked like nobody's business. No, I agree with Becc 95%. I think it's contextual. So when it's how you finish those, right? And again, but no, I agree with Becc. No reason to go belabor it.
Here's the other one. It says the lead one is how does that compare to what you do today?
Yeah, I don't like that question. No, I don't even.
In the demo stage, you should already know how that compares to what
that one I don't like at all. That one is just dumb because you already know what they do today. Mm-hmm. So if anything, you should be able to say, can you see how this is going to create better results for you based on what you're doing today? Right? That's really what you'd be during the demo anyways. Yeah, it's
a safe check that you haven't done discovery. That question. You can ask the question means you haven't discovered it.
1000%.
All right. And with that,
man, don't forget that.
You break my heart, Becc. That's what Brendan Coutreau. He said you broke his heart, or you break his heart.
I broke his heart. Wait, but Brendan, correct me if I'm wrong. Go in the comment. It's Brendon though.
Yeah, correct? Brendan.
Yeah, in my head though, Brendan, it's an AN. And the guy's got a little mustache and he's wearing a Hawaiian shirt and one of those hats. Showing up for Slacky Fridays.
Slacky Fridays.
Yeah, DAN. Because I've gone back and see Brendan's comments and I'm like,
Scott Cronin just said the only thing that will win is show me you know me. I like that. I like that. Show me you know me. I like that. That's good.
Good. Okay. Well, with that, we're on to the next segment of this podcast, which is Take It or Leave It.
I'm Brendan. I'm thankful that you're watching this podcast.
Yes, we love almost all Brendans with an O-N.
And get the out.
Wow.
Well, hey, this is Take It or Leave It, which is the segment where I introduce common sales tactics, and Keenan and Becc let us know whether they would take it or leave it.
We do it where everyone watching, you say whether you take it or leave it. Brendan,
drop it down in the comments.
Scott.
Well, hey, the first one of today is mentioning non-business related topics for personalization. So, for example, oh, Keenan, I see you went to Colorado State. Go Bulldogs. We'll start with you, Kater. Take it or leave it.
Go Buffaloes. Go Buffaloes. Okay.
Is it Bulldogs or Buffaloes?
I wasn't doing it off the actual mascot, but I was just an example.
Colorado Buffaloes. Come on now. We're in a slump. We're losing commits now. Come on. It's been a bad couple of days. Okay. So I take it in the first minute when it's the natural getting to like how you doing, you're waiting for someone else to get on the call. And if for something like that, it's like, oh, were you a buff? And it's Jermaine. First minute. And it's because you got, and it's the natural, at least in the Western world, it's the natural way just to kick something off. Everything outside of that, absolutely 1000% leave it. And when you do take it, it better be really Jermaine. Like you know, if you asked me about the Buffs last year, I'm telling you to pound sand because they sucked. No one knew them. There was nothing in the news. This year, it's a little more Jermaine. There's something going on. Prime is doing stuff. They're all over the news. All right. I get it. So it's 99% leave it, except in the very beginning when it's on a Zoom call, you walk through the door, something like that.
All right. What about you, Becc? Take it or leave it?
Yeah, in prospecting emails, I'd say it's a no.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And yeah, it's like, go Buffalo. So you want to buy flip the script or what?
Yeah, 100%.
Like, well, you did flip the script, technically. There is but for discovery calls, I double down with Keenan, but I'd say even then, make sure it's genuine. Like, I can count on it. You know what I'm saying? There was a call the other day where I brought up with the guy. He was an analyst for the MLB. So I brought up sabermetrics.
Yes.
And I went Bill James for like 5-10 minutes, and we were nerding out. I burned 10 minutes of a 45-minute discovery call with multiple people on the line that could not be less interested. But yes, if it's really genuine, like you're interested, okay, go ahead. But otherwise, it just seems sleazy to me.
Yeah.
All right. These next ones are going to be a little bit quick fire. So first one, turkey at Thanksgiving. Becc, take it or leave it?
Leave it. Oh. So healthy and
good thing you're in Paris, Becc.
No.
Now you don't have to have any turkey. Matter of fact, don't even take Thanksgiving. Just never come back. Never come back. Turkey all day long. That's the only time you eat turkey all year, except on sandwiches.
This is like when a little kid like throws a ball in your face. You're like,
thank
you.
Next one, we're throwing it out. It's stuffing at Thanksgiving. Keenan, take it or leave it?
1000%. Let's go. Take it all day long.
I take it.
Good.
Take it too.
Yeah, but what are you going to cook it in? And you can't cook it in the turkey.
I don't cook it.
You got to stuff it in a fucking Italian pasta shell. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
No turkey.
I wouldn't know. I've never cooked Thanksgiving.
Yeah, well, that's a whole different problem. So she didn't even be able to talk. Next
stuffing though. I am down to clown on stuffing.
There we go. But if you cook it in the turkey, there's a special place in hell for you.
My family always did hell.
Oh no! Next one.
The next one. Here's a big one: cranberries at Thanksgiving.
Oh my God! That's what I make. That's my thing at my family. I make the cranberry.
Hold up.
I take the whole cranberry and I reduce it in the thing with sugar and water and pop it and smash it. Let's go. But I don't put orange rinds in.
Keep going Thanksgiving foods, man. We're not doing that.
Becc, you didn't say take it or leave it. It's cranberries at Thanksgiving.
Take it for cranberries. They're sweet.
Take it.
Okay. I'm gonna leave it. I'm sorry, guys. The last one is let's bring it a little bit back to business.
No, Thanksgiving. Keep
okay,
going.
fine. Let me ask you something. If you're going to a potluck for Thanksgiving, or you go into a Friendsgiving, wherever the case is, and you bring green bean casserole,
I was about to say,
Leave it.
are you there with a smile? Or are you there like,
Leave
oh,
it.
I ruined everything else,
Ugh. Leave it.
and I just had to bring green
Leave
bean
it.
casserole because that's all I had left.
but here's the thing. My mom never did green bean casserole. She just did green beans. I'm like, this shit isn't the
Your
point.
mom loved you.
I'm
Your
like,
mom loved you by never doing green bean. All right, here's one. Here's one, Becc, and everybody listening. Italian for Thanksgiving.
I mean, I'd be down.
No.
I'm with you. Take so my eldest daughter has this tradition of shells, an Italian meal with the other stuff. So I'm doing it for her, but I'm like, nope.
Oh, that's nice.
Nope.
That's nice, and you should do it. Yeah, or mac and cheese. Or I've heard there's something called cornbread casserole.
No, you do that.
I want it. My mom was peas, green beans, a broccoli salad, turkey, cranberries, and then some stuffing. And I'm like, Thanksgiving blows ass.
I'm a traditionalist. You do a traditional Thanksgiving. It's the only time you get to. I can eat shells all year. I will never cook a turkey ever, except on Thanksgiving. I will almost never eat cranberry sauce except on Thanksgiving.
Are you
So
cooking
just
one
load it up.
tomorrow?
Let's go.
Are you
Let's load
cooking
it up.
one tomorrow?
What?
Are you cooking one tomorrow?
Yeah.
There we
Of
go.
course I'm cooking it. I'm cooking it. I'm making the mash. I'm cooking. I'm doing it all.
I feel like I've waged a war that I'm not prepared for.
Let's go. Let's go.
All right.
Welcome back on a plane. Come back and doors open. Walk right in. I'll stuff a turkey right down.
What if
Turkey
I
leg
did?
right down your throat.
What if I walked in tomorrow? Was like,
I'd laugh my ass off. You'd be open arms, Becc. Open arms.
All right.
Wait, Chris is in candied yams? No. Don't ever put yams and mashed potatoes in any way, shape, or form in front of me.
I'll do it as long as there's. It's not my favorite, but mashed potatoes, I'm a we.
Yes.
For
Wait.
sure.
What about that? I don't know what it's called, but that yams or sweet potato thing with the marshmallows.
Marshmallows.
Yeah, candied yams. That's candied yams.
Oh, that's candy yams. Yeah, no.
My mom does the pecans, like sugar pecans on top, which makes it better. But I still just picked the pecan part off.
All right. What about this one? What about
Gravy. What do you?
Oh
think
yeah, gravy's a must.
Gravy's a must.
Ugh, no way.
Whoa, wait, hold up. Are y'all doing a white gravy or a brown gravy?
Brown gravy.
There we go.
Yeah.
Gosh.
The gravy right from the mixings of the turkey with the cornstarch and yeah.
You know,
That's a must.
Master Chef Keenan right here.
No
Yeah,
way.
come on, baby. There's something that candy yams triggered me on that I had
Or
another
what
one.
about the psychopaths who like make a little hole in their mashed potatoes and put the gravy in? I'm
That's
like,
me. Oh yeah, me. Reservoir.
you are the kind of
Reservoir.
psychopath who does like 2-in-1 shampoo. And I'm like, they're separate,
No,
Brendan.
no.
Stop putting your
Reservoir.
gravy.
All right, I got one. Ready? Apple pie, pumpkin pie, or other.
Apple pie, yes. Pumpkin pie, absolutely no.
Oh,
Hard pass.
killing me back.
Love apple pie though.
Oh, I am full. You have to get 3 pies. There's 3 traditional pies that every
Do not
single
tell me
dinner needs to
pecan
have.
pie. Do not tell me pecan pie.
Apple pie,
Yes.
pumpkin pie, and pecan pie. That's my thoughts.
It's
From the South.
the weird texture stuff in the middle. Like anything with that goopy. Like
we got Kevin Chambers saying pecan way better. Oh my God.
There we go.
Saying pumpkin. I'm an apple guy. I'll do the
Okay.
pumpkin, but I'm an apple. Give me an apple.
Apple is so good. It's
All
the
day.
texture in the middle of that pecan pie. I'm like, what
Fucking
is
yeah.
that?
I'm with no
Like,
pecan pie.
I had
Places that have warm weather in the over Thanksgiving.
I had a roommate who knew that I wet bread, if I touch it or that texture, I said that I throw up, and they didn't believe me. So it's actually my roommate's boyfriend. They later got married. He put a piece of bread under some dishes. I walk in to go do the dishes, touch the bread, and immediately yak in the next sink.
Banana cream pie. Grandma's chocolate pecan
Ew.
pie. I'm not gonna mess with grandma's pie. Not mess with grandma's pie. All right, let's go. This was good. This was a good. You guys did a good job on that round. That was good. Good holiday festive shit.
All right. Well, with that, we're on to the next segment of this podcast, which is
the inbox.
And to help with that, first let me introduce the segment. This is Inbox, the segment where Keenan and Becc answer questions from our audience. And to help with that, we have nothing other than Min's magical mailbox in the flesh.
Yes, I love it.
I like how the first time I ever get invited to Keenan's house is for Thanksgiving when he knows it's not doable. Really warms my heart.
Well, hey, let's see who.
Back. You got one.
I got one. Take it.
Take it.
Well, okay. The person who sent this here, her name is Jessica Smith from ZoomInfo. And she asks, in what circumstances would it be ideal to bring in a manager or executive to a one-on-one when the client themselves are an executive? Is it best to help establish credibility when the rep herself doesn't have much experience? Keenan, why don't you start us off on this one?
Okay, well, that last piece was the key piece, when the rep doesn't have experience. So I would say in almost for me right now, what I'm tripping over is the definition of experience. So are they still in the onboarding stage? Are they only a few months out of onboarding? Have they been there a year? Like that is such a broad question. But I'm going to assume they're just out of the onboarding stage based on the question. And in that case, I would bring in for almost any call with an executive in the beginning. But then, nope, I take that back. The next question I have is, what is the meeting about? Okay. Is it a discovery call? Is it a demo? Like what is the meeting and why is that executive there? Is that executive there because they're the buyer and you've been working with them the whole time? Or did you do something with like a user and you get like the demo to discover them and that wasn't enough? So they wanted to bring in the executive to give more information. So it really depends. But my belief is in the beginning, when you've got a rep who's shaky footed, absolutely bring in that manager so they can watch and help. Like they're like bumpers to bowling.
All right, Becc, what about you? What is your take on this one?
I'm still so grossed out by the idea of gravy right now.
Big mashed potato bowl of gravy, everywhere, salt and pepper, mix it all up.
The white gravy that like holds its shape,
Feed me.
The French love that. They're like, oh, this is good for 6 months.
Oh, no. If the gravy holds its shape, to stay away. If it comes out in a block and it looks like the cafeteria milk that's like half frozen, then But good gravy has to roll down the mashed potatoes. That's why you got to put the hole in the mashed potatoes so it doesn't flow away.
It's just literally fat.
Yeah.
On top of your food.
Fat makes no fat is what gives food its taste. Why do you think they cook with butter and everything? Hello?
What about flavor like spices and stuff? I'm not against butter necessarily. I do the veggie, no fat butter. But the idea of gravy or like mayonnaise, oh gosh. I would rather wake up in the morning every single morning and get hit by a truck's like dumpster full of garbage juice than eat mayonnaise.
Your time is ticking if you want to answer this question for this lovely girl from ZoomInfo.
Sorry.
And Trevor's right.
Sorry, Jessica. It's loose cannon today, last episode. So I think where you should focus, in my opinion, now, there's a lot of outstanding variables to Keenan's point, kind of depends. However, I would focus on why do you think this person doesn't have credibility? Meaning, they mentioned that or she mentioned that at the end of it. Why don't you think they have credibility? Do you not think that they have the right business acumen? Do you not think that they know enough about the buyer? And I would double down there. The need for an executive, especially if you're at scale, it just bottlenecks you. And it kind of communicates that the salesperson doesn't have any credibility, doesn't have any expertise. So I would, instead of just bringing in the executive to save the call, then I would try and double down with the rep and say, okay, what do they not know? I'm going to test them accordingly, and let's build that skill set up from there. And you might have a weird power dynamic between the two executives. Sometimes
weird power dynamic.
I like what Trevor Miller said. Trevor said, don't bring in an exec just for backup. Have a strategy for their presence. I like that. Yeah, I agree with him there. When and why to jump in and the message and he's sending and it's sending or she's sending. So, yeah, I like that.
What does Brendan think about gravy?
Brendan didn't say anything about gravy, but
See,
Scott
that's how
Cronin-
you do it.
Scott
That's how you
Cronin-
do.
That's how you do it.
Scott Cronin said, ask Becc, what is the holy trinity of French cooking?
The Holy Trinity?
Duck à l'orange.
Baguette. Wait, am I looking?
Baguette.
Baguette, coffee.
Croissant.
Cooking. I don't even know, but I'm going to say it's butter, wine, and something else.
Cheese.
It's butter,
Cheese. Butter. It's
Butter,
gotta
wine,
be
and cheese?
It's gotta be cheese. I would say cheese, bread before butter and wine.
No, he said of cooking, not food, cooking.
Oh, butter.
Butter, wine,
No, I don't cook.
I think it's the mirepoix,
mirepoix.
the bechamel.
Okay, butter. Oh, he goes butter.
I have turned on my oven here. I have which is different from my San Francisco apartment. I made pasta. I boiled some noodles and I videotaped the whole thing. I was so pumped.
All right, low bar. All right, what do we got next?
All right. What we have next is the next segment of this podcast, which is
The Challenge.
this is the segment where Keenan and Becc break down a challenging subject within the sales industry. And today's challenge is how to find an unknown for a buyer. Becc, why don't you start us off with this one?
Oh, la la. So that's a big topic.
Ooh la la.
So you can find unknown problems, root causes, current impact, future impact, current event trigger, future event trigger, and hypothetically solution. But that's where everyone doubles down. They're like, you didn't know that you needed this solution. I'm like, you have to find the problem first, Brendan. You have to find the problem first. So I'd say the 3 ways to find an unknown is, learn industry statistics. So you know if it's like relatively speaking a problem. I think that's a good step in the right direction. Find out what all the root causes could be of a common problem that you solve and like what the limits would have to be for it to be a root cause. And then you need to ask those finite questions. So for instance, a huge unknown for almost every single buyer I talk to is email deliverability. Before the whole Google Yahoo thing, now it's just gonna get worse. But every single buyer, a great tip or a great litmus test for that is to say, what's your open rate? So industry average open rate is 15 to 25%. Industry average reply rate is 0.5 to 0.7%. Oddly enough, not even positive replies or booked meetings, but that's what it is. And anything less than a 50% open rate, you have an email deliverability problem. So I would ask that question. I would always find an unknown there. But the other way that you could go about it is to ask basically the inputs that you know would cause a problem, of like, can you show me an example of the text that you're sending? Are all your subject lines the same? How many emails are you sending per day? And if they say anything more than 50, I'm like, they're causing an email deliverability problem. I'm like, how many links are you including? More links, the worse. Broken paths will hurt you. Unverified sites will hurt you. How many images are you including? Are you sending them all at one time? You batching them out? Like I had a rep ping me one day and he was like, hey, will you come over to my desk? And I was like, okay. So I walk over there and he's like, first of all, are you going to fire me? I'm like, depends what you do. He's like, so I sent out 200 emails and Gmail locked me out. I'm like, you were so shitty that Gmail he thought I had fired him for doing it because he was locked out of his email. I'm like, well, now I'm thinking about it. But any more than 50 emails a day, all at the same time, equidistant times, 105, 110, 115, 120, or not having a custom tracking link. So point being, I would never ask them, do you have an email deliverability problem? They're like, I don't know. But if I ask all those other questions and they say, we're sending 60 emails a day, we're sending them typically out at 2 p.m., we're sending out cadence emails. Yes, the subject lines are the same in and of themselves. But I'm like, I don't really and no, we don't have a custom tracking link. We've never checked. We've been blacklisted. I'm like, you have an email deliverability problem. I had a buyer the other day, and then I'm going to pass to Keenan. I had a buyer the other day. They said, I said, what's your open rate? And they're like 0.6. And I was like, no, not your reply rate. What's your open rate? And they were like 0.6. And they're like, so do you think that we have deliverability problem? I'm like, I'm for certain that you have an email deliverability problem. I am more certain than you have a deliverability problem or that you're blacklisted for sure. Then I am certain the sun will rise tomorrow. Like, count that. So I think you need to learn the criteria of what it would cause, what would cause a problem, root causes, blah, blah, and then ask those questions so that you can understand it first. And then the buyer, then you're uncovering it for the buyer. Keenan, go ahead. Sorry, it was a long rant.
I got nothing to say. No, I'm kidding.
What?
I think the last thing that Becc said is the most germane. Trevor here said, how to discover an unknown, question mark, ask more questions, and then what, and then what, and then what. I don't agree with that. Trevor had some good stuff to say earlier, but I disagree with that. The and then what's aren't helping you help them understand they don't know something. I think you need to understand, as Becc was saying, where do those problems lie and what do most customers not understand? Like where do they normally miss the problem, right? And your ability to know that space. Now, one of the best things you can do is go back to past clients, right? Look at what people didn't know in their world before. Look what they didn't understand before and how you enlightened them with past clients or as you implemented, et cetera. And then from there, you're able to ask the types of questions Becc asked. Like one of the things we're doing over here at Node Analytics, and we didn't know this either. This is the cool part of being with the company and having the product. One of the things we're starting to learn is that when people use Node Analytics, there is a very direct correlation. We can't say causality because we don't know what it is yet, but there's a very clear correlation between how quickly a sales manager reviews an opportunity after it's created to close. The sooner or earlier they review an opportunity and provide feedback to a rep on an opportunity, the higher that opportunity closed by sometimes 2 to 3x, right? So to your point, what I simply have to do if they're having a close issue or forecasting issue, I could do like this. Can you tell me, do you have any visibility at all into when your managers actually review opportunities for the first time? Do you know the average? When they do review it, do you know how they give the feedback? When they give the feedback, do you know how long it takes for the rep to respond to that? If all of those are no's, then I already know they don't know what's going on. They don't know why deals close. They don't know why deals are lost. And so then they start, well, if I don't know this, then how am I forecasting, right? So then I say, so not knowing this, how are you building your forecast, right? So how do you know what makes you trust the forecast? And what it normally leads to is a forecast, they pull shit in from the quarter that wasn't even there and they lose stuff here. It's just a shit show. It really isn't a real forecast. They just make it work in one way or another. So to your point, it's really about understanding your buyer's world as well, if not better than them, but also understanding your product and understanding where these people don't understand their own world.
Here is a great example about finding an unknown. Everyone lost their mind the last week and a half. That they're like, oh, Outreach punted out an email saying that Google and Yahoo are going to crack down. You can't send more than 5,000 from a name February 1st. All LinkedIn is talking about it. My problem isn't that. My problem is that that policy was updated like 2 months ago. So there was tons of press on it.
Yeah.
So there's an example of a future event trigger, something that's going to happen in the future that most buyers didn't know about until Outreach said that. So it's like one of those things that are happening that you can highlight for your buyers so they can get ahead of it.
Mm-hmm. No, 1,000. I got a question on a quick side note. What happens to you if you're Microsoft? You got 150,000 employees.
I don't know.
I think it's only on the Gmail platform. So if you have a Gmail address, so if you're pushing it through an Outlook, you have your own Outlook server. I answer my own question. It's only
Google
Gmail.
and Yahoo, but it's the same domain, right, man? It's
No.
Anything from the same domain. It's Google and Yahoo. I know both of those. It is.
Now, somebody paying attention and tell me if I'm crazy, but Google and Yahoo, they manage the deliverability through their servers. If I'm Microsoft and I have a company, well, I'll use my own Microsoft servers in my own Microsoft data center.
You're saying data
Yes, so that I answer my own question. Really, really big companies who have more than 5,000 employees or 3,000 employees, they manage their entire own email server environment, right? So they deliver themselves through their own Email
What about everyone else who's like 1,000 employees?
The biggest thing, I'm not super, I can't be like 100% certain about the domains, but I do know that they do track from the organization that you're sending it out of,
Yes.
whether Google or Yahoo. But what I do know, and one of the biggest things that I looked at was if you get more than a 0.3% spam report rate, your entire domain gets blacklisted.
You know how big of a deal that is?
So if 99.7% of people love your emails, but 0.3% block of spam, you're done.
Because that had always been a thing. The things that put you into tension are if they delete your email, especially if they delete your email without opening it, if they unsubscribe or they report you to spam. But I'm like, 0.3? Like,
it's okay. Crazy. Both of y'all are at 0.00 2%. So
how do you know? Wait, how do you know?
No reason. I just happen to see your analytics every single week for email.
Oh, so you know our spam.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. I think because we're getting some clients who are telling us that we're blacklisted. No, I'm sorry. We're getting clients buzz me. So I know that so we got a lot of clients, like people who we're actually trying to communicate with, who are clients saying it went to spam. And I'm being sales is in their title.
Yeah, sales is right. Sales is in your domain.
So this is where the brilliance of fucking Google and all those guys really piss me off. Because with all your fucking genius, you can't figure out that if somebody it's the name of their company, right? Like, and it's a legitimate company, a sales growth company, that you're going to punish us because we chose to name our company. That makes no sense.
The things that help you are if they save you from spam, save you to a contact, reply, forward, open your email. Those are the way that you like win points with Google, so to speak, or DKIM, DMARC, and
I would say sales should be offset by that. They should have a way
even if you put LinkedIn in a subject line, like your LinkedIn About Me section, a lot of times it'll flag it to social promo. It's like it's a LinkedIn. Like that's why when everyone's talking about quality of email, I'm like, y'all, it is a misdiagnosis. Well, I mean, it's a part of it for sure, but it's not winding up at 0.6 open rate. But I was like, yes.
Yeah. You know what we got to do is we got to do a take it or leave it. Well, if we have take it or leave it next time in our next segment, because big changes, everybody. If we have take it or leave, we should put on there the PayPal thing.
Oh, yes.
What's this?
They send somebody a penny and then have a message behind it.
I saw that.
Don't say anything. We'll just add that. So, all right, back to you, Min.
All right. And before we go into, I say we should make them send 2 pennies and then call it just my 2 cents. But, yeah.
Yes. Or can I? Yes. Yeah. I'd like to send your 2 cents.
But yes. Exactly. But hey, we are on to the next segment of this podcast.
Oh, listen, just one more thing.
This is the last segment of our podcast where Becc and Keenan share what's on their mind and give us their closing thoughts. So, Keenan, share with us your just one more thing.
Last one.
The real just one more thing of the season.
He went with Keenan first and last one.
Yeah, I think I'd like to say this, everybody. Get close to your family. Don't look at Thanksgiving as a holiday. Look at it as a time to spend more time with the people you care about and love. Look at it as a way to get closer to them. Don't make it stress. If cooking a huge meal stresses everybody out and you all start fighting, don't do it. Right? It's time to just spend with family. Get to know them, get closer to them, catch up with them, so more hugs, more kisses, more conversation, and just lean into the friends and family and lean into the love. Don't lean into the holiday. Fuck the holiday.
All right, Becc, what about you? What's your just one more thing?
I'm just sad.
You saying that right when Becc tells you that she's not going to her family for Thanksgiving?
I was playing it. Well, I suck.
The door's open, Becc. Invitation.
So, I wasn't going to even say anything big. Now I got nothing. He left me speechless at the end of season 1. Season one. The only thing I was going to say is Gabby Blackwell, shout out. GB came in town this weekend and we hung out. She is awesome.
I have no idea who that woman is. So way to be awesome, Gabby.
Everyone go follow GB, Gabby Blackwell. She's incredible. That's my one last thing. And happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. And that's our podcast.
That's season one.
Season one, everybody. You have been listening to 48 episodes of season one. Thank you all for that. If you know what, send me, Becc, or Min any ideas that you want to have for season two. No rules. Format will not change, but we may change some sections. We may add some, take some out. But if you have ideas for section or something you want us to address, hit us up. We'll add it to the lot and see what we come up with. So here, thank you everybody for the last year and a half or 2 years, how long you've been listening to us and sales top to bottom. Here's to everybody. Have a fantastic Thanksgiving, a fantastic holiday season, albeit Christmas, Hanukkah, freaking Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate, enjoy the fuck out of it. And hug the family, spend the time, enjoy yourselves. And from all of us here, thank you very, very much. I'm Keenan.
I'm Becc.
And Min.
And I'm in. See you on 2024.
Peace.